about Shaykh Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Qattani, he is without question one of the greatest scholars of the 19th and 20th centuries. Medina and Mecca in the 19th century and the 20th century, they were under these great people, the Ottoman Turks, these amazing people, you know, and I bear witness before Allah that these were great human beings. And may Allah bring back the greatness of these people to the Turks of today. Not just the Turks of Turkey, but the Turks of Central Asia and other parts of the world. But and Mecca and Medina were beautiful at that time, because one thing is that the Turks love the Prophet, and the love of the Prophet and the love of the Quran is one of the secrets of the Ottoman Empire and of the family of Uthman, of Osman Ghazi. And so in Medina, he met another sheikh who happens to be in my silsila, in one of my silsilas. This is Shaykh Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Dandarawi. Ya Dandarawi, Ya Sidi, Ya Sidi, Ya Sidi. This is a great Shaykh Dandarawi. He was a sheikh from Upper Egypt in the south, and he was powerful, a great teacher and a great scholar, a great builder of mosques. When I went to Malaysia for the first time, many years ago, before most of you were born, even if there's any Malaysians here, probably Malaysians here, and my wife and I and my family, we went there following my sunnah, which is not to plan and not to do things ahead of time. I'm not good at that. That's why we have to have people like Zainab and all these wonderful people who are organizing for us. So we went there at the time that they were having these Asian games. Of course, you would have checked that out ahead of time and known that if that's the case, there won't be any hotels in Kuala Lumpur. So I didn't do that. So we come out of the airport and no hotels anywhere. Not 5-star, not 4-star, not 3-star, not 2-star, not 1-star, not no stars. No hotels. And our taxi driver took us off to this mountain in the forests. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a big mountain. And we went up, and it's cold. And of course, Malaysia's not cold, Indonesia's not cold. We didn't bring any warm clothes, so we froze up there. It's I think the highest part of Malaysia. And to walk to the mosque, I had to walk over a bridge over the forest, the jungle, a little rope bridge, which I enjoyed. And when the children were on it, we tried to move it, you know. And then I went into the mosque. There was La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah fi kulli lamhatin wa nafasin adada ma wasi'ahu ilmullah. I said, this is Shaykh Muhammad Ahmad al-Dandarawi, because that's what he spread everywhere he went. I said, this is his mosque, which he was. It's one of the many mosques that he established. He was great, and the English feared him tremendously because Egypt and Sudan at that time were under English control, and that was the time also of Muhammad ibn Ahmad, the Mahdi of Sudan, and he and Dandarawi were very close, but the English were afraid that he and Dandarawi would join hands, and then that would be big trouble. The English tried to poison him twice. He was poisoned 5 times, fatally, but he didn't die. And in any case, Shaykh al-Dandarawi was there in Medina, and Shaykh Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Qattani took his hand and became his murid. And one of the things that Shaykh Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Dandarawi asked him to do is, he said, I want you to write the most basic aqidah you can think of. The most basic aqidah that you can think of, which we can use to begin with, and which will be for children, and will be for men and women who are very busy, who don't have much time. They don't have time to sit down to memorize Al-Kharid al-Bahiyya or Jawharat al-Tawheed or some of these other great works, but this will be enough for them. And so he did that. He wrote this beautiful poem. And inshallah, this is what we will be studying. I could teach this poem for the rest of my life. I could teach the Ajurumiyya for the rest of my life. And I think that this is an important point that we should make, and perhaps we'll close with this. And that is that our way, our path, is the path of al-ilm al-rabbani, the rabbani, the sublime path of knowledge, the path of the people of the Lord, the people who belong to the Rabb, and ar-rabbaniyun. They are men and women of the Lord. May Allah make each of us rabbanis and rabbaniyas, men and women of the Lord. Men and women of the Lord are what? They are the slaves of God. And the word of slave in English is a pretty ugly word. But in this context, it is gold. He or she is a pure servant of God. No claims, nothing. As Sidi Ibn Ata'Allah says, Ilahi ana jahilun fi ilmi, fa kayfa la akunu jahulan fi jahli. He says, this is Ibn Ata'Allah, who's one of the masters of the Maliki school, one of the greatest scholars of all time, master of the path. And he says, my God, I am ignorant in my knowledge. فَكَيْفَ لَا أَكُونُ جَهُولًا فِي جَهْلِ. So how can I not be totally ignorant in my ignorance? This is the Rabbani, and these are part of the hikam of Ibn Ata'Allah. If we finish the poem, we will try to get into the hikam, and if we do that, then we'll try to look at the hikam that bear on aqidah, that bear on belief. But this is because he is Rabbani, and the Rabbani is humble. The Rabbani has no claim. The Rabbani lives in his Lord or her Lord. And one of the things about the Rabbani path of teaching is that saghirul ilmi qabla kabirihi, that we always give priority to the little knowledge, beginning knowledge, elementary knowledge before big knowledge. When I went to the University of Chicago, as soon as I was able to read an Arabic text, they had me reading a Shatibi. When I was a boy, I grew up in Nebraska, which is in the center of the United States. And my family lived around the sandhills. The sandhills are like the Pampalona of Argentina. That's the only place in the world that's like them. Sandhills are beautiful. And we would go to Colorado for vacation because they have mountains there. And in those days, it's a long time ago, no super highways, nothing. To go to Colorado, it takes a couple of days. And you're driving on a 2-lane road and you have blowouts, you have to change your tires. Very different world. But, as we would approach the Rocky Mountains, you would see over the plains of eastern Colorado, which are also beautiful, you see this blue ridge of the Rocky Mountains. And as soon as I would see that, I'd stand up in the back of the car over my father's shoulder. He'd tell me to sit down, but I couldn't sit down. These are the mountains. And then it takes hours to get there. And they get bigger and bigger and bigger, bluer and bluer and bluer. Then you begin to see peaks. Then they begin to get darker till they become black. Then you see the white of the snow. And to me, this was the greatest sight on the face of the earth. But to me, when I first read Ash-Shatibi, I said, that's the Blue Ridge of the Rocky Mountains. I can't understand this book. I'm not prepared. I know the Arabic, but I don't know this culture. But I know this is great. If only I can get it someday. And alhamdulillah, my professors were really good. They worked with me. I worked hard. I wrote my dissertation on Malik's concept of amal in the light of Maliki theory, legal theory, which is sort of a comparative study of usul al-fiqh, Abu Hanifa, may Allah be pleased with him, Imam Malik, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam bin Ahmad. And the book of that, which is now a real book, it's not a dissertation, that will come out inshallah in December of this year. And it will be called Malik and Medina, Islamic Legal Reasoning in the Formative Period. But when I got my PhD, one of my desires was now to begin all over again and to find teachers. And this is what my teachers did, is that you begin with this. This is step one. And like I could cry. Like this is what I wanted all the time. You know, enter the houses through their doors. You know, we enter the palace of these great thinkers, but like, I don't even know what's on the first floor. And you're asking me to enter on the 9th floor or the 10th. You know, so this is very important. And for that reason, little knowledge, elementary knowledge, the basic knowledge. For the Rabbani, this is never boring. And this is one of the important things about what our Shaykh said also, is the fact that man dallaka ala al-amal, person that shows you just work, toil, you know, they exhaust you. And you don't get much in return. You've got to have the secret. You've got to have the elixir of life. You've got to have the amal of the qalb, of the heart. This is what transforms it. But when you're tired with toil, you become bored. And then you can't do it anymore. In the beginning, you stand up, you're praying all night, but it's not time for you to pray at night yet. You're not there. So you're really filled with vigor. That's your nafs. And then after a week, get up tonight again, and tomorrow night, the next night, and you get up and like, wow, I can't even hardly do this. So you get bored. And this is one of the things. We begin at the beginning, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. And we honor the beginnings. And we can repeat this. If I had to teach this for the rest of my life, I wouldn't mind. Not at all. The Ajurumiyya, I wouldn't mind. I love to go back and teach it again. You know, so this is very important. And for this reason also, the Rabbani, may Allah make all of us Rabbanis, they are people that don't get bored. And they are people that live every day as if it were the first day and the best day, because they are people who live in the present moment. And may Allah make all of this way, especially in our lives with each other. Never take your brother for granted. Never take your sister for granted. And for those whom Allah has blessed to be married, you know, there's a hadith that Ibn Rushd al-Jad transmits in the Muqaddimat, miskinun, miskinun thumma miskin. And who is he? The one who's not married. Poor, then poor is the one who's not married. Miskinatun, aw thumma miskina, I might not have the right transmission. Poor is the woman who's not married. You know, marriage is an important part of our religion. But again, our married life, may Allah bless us to have good married lives, these should always be like the first day. And this is your responsibility as a Rabbani. Always look upon your wife, and the wife should do that with her husband as well, as if this were the first day, the most beautiful day. And if you get bored, if you get tired, it means something is wrong. You are not doing something right that you ought to be doing, and it's probably something really simple. Really simple. So this is really important, you know. We need to live in the present moment in everything. You know, in our relations with each other, our brotherhood that we have, you know, in our relations with our mothers and our fathers, with our children, with our husbands and our wives. This is really, and this is all part of this. How many times have you read Surah Al-Fatiha? And how many million times, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, will you recite those 7 verses before you go back to your Lord on that terrible day? Because that is the worst day of all, the resurrection. You know, the world after this is the barzakh, the intermediary world. It's like a garden or like a fire. It's much greater than this world. And we will talk about that in the Aqidah, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. But you know, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. And whoever fears the maqam of his Lord, has two gardens. What is the maqam of your Lord? It is to stand before your Lord on the day of judgment. And that is the greatest tribulation that you will ever face. Even though you, inshallah, are a believer and a good believer. And you will go to the garden, and inshallah, by the grace of Allah, may we all be in the garden together. And may none of us be judged. May we work perfectly. May we do the things we're supposed to do. We live by the law. You know, the haqiqah is in the sharia. The ultimate prophetic reality is in the prophetic law, like butter is in milk. If you don't have law, you don't have anything. You know, tassawwuf is ubudiyya mutlaqa. Tassawwuf is pure servanthood. And you can't be Allah's servant if you don't follow His law. It's not a game, it's not a dance. You know, it's a reality. Okay, but you know, may Allah enable us to do that so that we take the knowledge, not like been there, done that. Been there, done that is one of these empty illusions and statements of this miserable culture that dominates the world today. Like you've never been there and you've never done that. And that's why you don't even know what it is. And you don't even have the sense to go back and do it again. You know, when we have been there, we can do it 1,000 times. And Al-Fatiha grows. You know, if all that you had to do now were to recite Al-Fatiha, if this were your hizb until the day that you died, doing everything else that you have to do, wouldn't that be the best thing you could imagine? You'd never get bored. You'd never get bored. Okay, so may Allah enable us to take this poem, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. The first obligation of the mukallaf, the first obligation of the man and woman who has taklif, legal and moral responsibility, because we are mature, we have intellect, and we have received the Prophet's message, you know, is to know God. But to know God with this basic, what we call legal knowledge. And this is what we want to do in these days, and to know the Prophets, and may Allah give us tawfiq. I'll stop here, and hopefully we have some time still for a few questions if you have any. I hope that I'll be stopped on time every day so that you have some time to ask questions. Again, it is my honor to be with you. And in making my intention to come here, it's like first of all to have your suhbah, to be with you. And you have gifts to give. We all have gifts to give. But when we come together like this, an-nafsu lin-nafsi tasriq, oneself steals legally from the other. We don't pick pockets, we pick hearts. And you bring something which is good for me, whoever you are. And I bring something which is for you too. And this man brings something, and all of our people, Brother Fahim, Brother Kaltham, all of them, all of our sisters, they bring something. So Allah make this a feast of the souls every single day and give you the beauty of this wonderful city. And inshallah, we pray for the Muslims of Syria. We pray for the Muslims of Syria. You know, they're going through a trial by fire, and they're fighting one of the most diabolical enemies on the face of the earth. No mercy, no sense, nothing. May Allah give them victory. You pray for them and pray for the Turks. You know, pray for the Libyans, pray for the Egyptian people.